This is to present the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology's transformation journey under the Performance Governance System initiation stage. As a backgrounder, shown is the Philippine Correction System, where BJMP is under the Department of Interior and Local Government. The BJMP was established on July 1, 1991, with the task of supervising all district, city, and municipal jails in the country. Our mandate is twofold: providing safekeeping and development for those in the correction sector. Our mission is to provide humane safekeeping and developmental opportunities for persons deprived of liberty as our contribution to a safe, just, and prosperous Philippines. Our vision is to be a highly capable agency dedicated to global best practices and standards in jail management. Our core values encapsulate the standards, principles, and ideals that jail officers should always uphold. The BJMP serves the Filipino nation by focusing on the criminal justice system, particularly on individuals considered as persons deprived of liberty or PDLs. They temporarily belong to a sector considered as among the last and are seen as the lowest in the community. The least, the persons who are seen as less significant than others. The lost, as individuals who lack direction and need intervention. Last 2022 alone, about 99,981 individuals were returned to society. The Bureau's lack of proper assessment and classification upon commitment resulted in BJMP failing to gauge the effectiveness and quality of services provided to this number of released PDLs. This has also resulted in security issues in the jail due to unidentified individual custodial risks. It has also resulted in the lack of sensitivity to the real needs of the PDLs and mere perception-based, non-targeted PDL development intervention programs. Our belief is that these non-targeted intervention services to the PDL plus the lack of an institutionalized reintegration program upon their release increases a former PDL's propensity to reoffend, triggering a vicious reincarceration cycle. The implementation of a successful reentry process is a particular concern for our Bureau's public service. At a minimum, we can say that 20% of the nationwide population are reoffenders, translating to more than 20,000 PDL housed in our various jail facilities. Reoffending significantly contributes to the nation's crime rate. These reoffenders also worsen the occupancy rate in our jails. This leads us to the tension on the economic cost of inefficient public services. Our inability for effective reentry comes at a steep price on government expenditure. As an example, our reoffenders, based on last year's jail population, were 27,678. These reoffenders were provided with their basic needs as shown. The result is that our Bureau incurred a security and safekeeping cost of 334 pesos per day, per PDL. Given these, the service cost per PDL per day for all these reoffenders amounted to 9.2 million pesos. If we were to compute this per quarter, the total amount is 850 million pesos, and a staggering 3.4 billion pesos of taxpayers' money per annum. A PDL successful community reintegration is a projected cost reduction initiative. As the leadership of BJMP shifts to a transformational approach, this journey under the PGS led us to identify and formulate strategies to address the gaps for our organization to scale up its governance. The biggest obstacle to any transformation is maintaining a status quo. In a mission to serve society and move beyond purpose, our organization has reimagined our mandates of safekeeping and development with the enhanced core services in our strategy. Acknowledging the gaps, we have identified the lack of proper PDL assessment and classification and the lack of continuity of care from jail to community as the missing links in elevating our service quality. As a comparison, a patient receives health care from a hospital following these steps. First, the patient shall be assessed to know his diagnosis. Second, said patient shall then be confined for proper care and monitoring. Third, he shall be given the appropriate treatment as needed in preparation for his recovery and eventual discharge. The treatment given is based on the results and recommendations stemming from the assessment. In essence, there is proper treatment for a specific condition. PDL management is practically the same, wherein BJMP personnel are like physicians, seeking to provide the best treatment for these last, least, and lost. Thus, we saw the need to include classification and reintegration in our core functions. With PGS, we were able to create a strategy from the potential of our twofold mandates. This includes surfacing the crucial need to be client-centered, and this can only start with classification. We can now identify the PDL's custodial risks, hence, resulting in reduced security risks. Also, through classification, our development mandate would be responsive to the current demands of the community. We can now give targeted interventions to each PDL based on classification and assessment of his specific needs. Reintegration, in turn, serves as the logical development endpoint of any individual impacted by the criminal justice system. Safekeeping and development remain front and center in our service delivery. In response to the growing public demand for accountability and service growth, we have thus redefined our Bureau's core services into 4: classification, safekeeping, development, and reintegration. These core services are also derived from the concept of a PDL's journey in jail, as PDL transitions from life in jail and eventual community reintegration. We see this strategic direction as providing clarity and infusing our Bureau with a higher purpose. Our aspiration towards quality service as public servants is what propelled our PGS transformative journey. The 4 stages of the PDL's journey now form part of our agency's core functions as shown in our strategy map. With that, we developed our strategic change agenda for these core functions. Both the safekeeping and development functions require capability upgrades. Considering that classification and reintegration are newly added core functions, we would like to focus on these 2 functions. For classification, from a traditional classification process, we seek an institutionalized, evidence-based classification system based on human rights principles that incorporate risk-needs responsivity. As shown in our roadmap is the accomplishment of a strategic deliverable on PDL classification. The policy for PDL reception and diagnosis was already approved and is ready for implementation. We have also prepared our scorecard for classification, wherein for the 2028 Basecamp our target is for 80 jails, or 18% of jails nationwide, shall be implementing this policy. The selection of these jails is based on their occupancy rate, facility readiness, and availability of personnel who shall be the implementers of this new initiative. We have likewise developed a pool of trainers for PDL reception and diagnosis. Our way forward is the full implementation of this policy in identified jails. For reintegration, our change agenda is, from fragmented reintegration efforts from both internal and external partners, we now seek to have an institutionalized, whole-of-society approach to community reintegration of former PDL. Shown in our roadmap is the accomplishment of a strategic deliverable on the Unified Aftercare System, wherein a memorandum of agreement was signed between and among concerned national government agencies and local government units on the Unified Aftercare Referral, Monitoring System, and Program for former PDL. In order to operationalize said MOA within the BJMP, we facilitated the very first reintegration conference. The conference put the spotlight on several inroads made towards PDL reintegration thanks to the initiatives of some of the best and brightest from our Bureau. Likewise, some of our longtime partners and fellow stakeholders have developed their own interventions. All of these have shown great promise, serving as an excellent jumping-off point towards the development of a holistic policy on reintegration. Our way forward for this function is the continuous coordination and collaboration to fully operationalize said agreement on unified aftercare and the crafting of the BJMP's reintegration policy. We have also identified our support functions, wherein we also developed our strategic change agenda for these. Most of our support functions require capability upgrades, but in terms of policy reform, we realized that this is a highly important aspect in order to achieve the ambitious goals of our transformation initiative. From just having initiated policy reforms at the national and local levels by a newly established and dedicated office, we seek these policy reforms to address strategic issues in the administration and operations of jail management. As shown in our policy reforms roadmap, we can boast the accomplishment of a strategic deliverable that shall solve some of the operational issues of the BJMP. This is the approval of the national policy for the inclusion of the BJMP in SGLG and NPOC. This early win ensures that support for BJMP is now part of the parameters for the Seal of Good Local Governance (SGLG) by the DILG. Previously, local jails were noticeably a low priority in LGU's development agenda. The concept of community reintegration and support to local jail operations were not a priority agenda in the Peace and Order Council. Hence, the BJMP received minimal or no support. Now, through this reform, the LGUs are required to provide assistance to BJMP field units should such LGUs desire to gain recognition from the DILG. A truly game-changing initiative. Our way forward is to strengthen our commitment and dedication to continuously lobby for similarly filed bills, national policies, and local ordinances. Upon approval and enactment, this will be reflected in our agency scorecard on policy reforms. All of the strategic objectives under our support functions as well as our objectives in our core functions will lead to the attainment of our agency's desired strategic position. That by 2028 we shall meet the national standards for responsive and holistic jail management guided by global best practices. But this will not be possible without the commitment and dedication of our so-called BJMP PGS champions, composed of the leadership team from the command group, the core team who are the roadmap owners, the Office of Strategy Management, or the CJESM. Our OSM was already established even before this PGS initiation, by virtue of Department Order 2021-751. In this manner, with our OSM in place, we have ensured that our strategic intent is on solid footing. The CJESM is already incorporated into our organizational structure under the Office of the Chief, BJMP. The National Advisory Council has yet to be established, but we have already laid the groundwork as we formalize its creation. We have already engaged with a total of 19 government agencies, academic institutions, international funding agencies, and private organizations. During said event, we have invited them to take part in the establishment of our NAC. The NAC shall have a significant part to play in the BJMP's PGS journey, specifically as an advisor in strategy design, a supporting body in strategy execution, and as a monitoring body in ensuring sustainability among its programs and initiatives. Moreover, the NAC shall have a significant role in helping the BJMP in opening doors toward restoring human capabilities and successful PDL reintegration. These are some of the interventions for former PDLs that members of the NAC can address: employment opportunities, continuity of care, circle of support, and other post-release interventions. At this point, permit us to present our early wins and significant accomplishments. We have crafted a dashboard for monitoring the accomplishment of our strategic commitments for the calendar year 2023. We take pride that in a mere 3 months, we have achieved a 21% accomplishment rate, while another 37% of these commitments are already ongoing. In terms of cascading, we have already cascaded these to the SPMS of all the directorates and offices in the national headquarters, specifically in their OPCR. We are also proud to report that as part of our strategic communication, we have distributed jail plan advocacy pins to BJMP personnel all over the Philippines. We have also facilitated an online assessment survey through Google Forms, where we have reached a total of 22,520 personnel, or 99.1% of our total strength. Through said survey, we identified that the level of understanding of our personnel on our PGS journey is at 88%, and their strategic readiness is at 87.40%. The BJMP has still a long way to go in this PGS journey to achieve its desired breakthrough results. With the commitment and dedication of the men and women of the Bureau, our PGS champions, together with our external partners, we will strive harder to break the cycle of reoffending and transform a person who was once lost and considered among the last and the least, giving him a brighter future as a productive citizen, thus living up to our mantra of changing lives and building a safer nation.